Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
We started the plant kingdom and introduction we completed last class. We learned about different classification systems and also about some of the sources which the scientists depend on to solve the problems in classification. So one of you tell me what is meant by artificial classification system or the criteria used in artificial classification. Rose, your audio problem is solved? Try, let me see whether I can hear you. No. No, Rose, sorry. Maharin?
Yes, ma'am. They are based on gross superficial characters like habitat, then color, number, and all. It was an early system of classification.
Any drawbacks you're remembering? They gave equal importance to? Any drawbacks you're remembering? Devi Krishna, can you tell me the drawbacks of artificial classification system?
They gave equal weightage to both vegetative and sexual properties.
What is the problem in that? If equal weightage is given, vegetative characters can get easily affected by the environmental conditions. And we also learned about two more classification systems. Anjana, just name the remaining two classification systems. I'm not able to hear you. Malavika, Vibin. Many are in red color today. Okay. Yes, Malavika, Vibin.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, what did you ask?
What are the three classification systems that we discussed?
Artificial classification.
One artificial, what will be the next one? Artificial, natural classification system, and one more?
Cytotaxonomy.
Which is the third one? Analysts? Third system of classification. All were busy learning for the test paper, I think. I will come to know next period. Yes, analysts? Third system of classification. P, starting with P. Lakshmi? Genetic classification system. And we also learned about the three different sources from where the scientists take help for solving the problems in classification. Which are those three sources? Why many videos are off? Irene, I haven't seen you so far. Your video was not at all turned these very days. I've noticed it, Irene. At least one day you turn the video on. Let me see you. Gaya, tell me what are the three different sources?
Numerical taxonomy.
Numerical taxonomy.
Taxonomy and chemotaxonomy.
Chemotaxonomy and one more?
Cytotaxonomy.
Cytotaxonomy, numerical taxonomy, and chemotaxonomy. So these are the three different sources from where scientists take help for solving the problems in classification. So today we are going to learn about different plant divisions, and which are the plant divisions, different divisions coming under plant kingdom. Last day we had discussed that. Malavika, Prabal, the 5 divisions. First one, starting with A. 9th standard, you have learned it as Thallophyta.
Thallophyta, Bryophyta, Pteridophyta,
and angiosperms and gymnosperms. So algae, Thallophyta includes algae. So first division that we are going to learn is algae. Different algae and symbiotic associations of algae also. You can see here already in the last chapter you learned about algae and fungal symbiotic association, which you call as the lichen. Already we had learned that. They are simple, thalloid, autotrophic, chlorophyll bearing, aquatic organisms. Okay, they are simple. The structure is not very complicated. Thalloid means they have got an undifferentiated plant body. Their plant body is undifferentiated. So that is known as thalloid structure. Undifferentiated plant body means the body is not differentiated into root, stem, leaves, etc. So it's having a simple thalloid structure, and they are autotrophic because they have the green pigment chlorophyll. So being autotrophic, or being autotrophic, they can carry out its own, or they can carry out photosynthesis, and they can prepare their own food, and they contain chlorophyll. And they are aquatic. Aquatic means they are found in water bodies. It can be either fresh water or marine. You can find them both in fresh water and marine habitat. Once again, the main features, they are simple, thalloid. Thalloid means they have got an undifferentiated plant body. Plant body is not differentiated into root, stem, leaves, etc. So proper differentiation of the plant parts are not there. They are autotrophic, means they can carry out photosynthesis as they contain chlorophyll. And the habitat, they are found in aquatic habitat. It can be either fresh water or marine. They also occur in variety of other habitats. Apart from freshwater and marine habitats, you can find them on moist stones, wet stone, soil, wood. So in these places, in these habitats also, you can find algae. Some of them, they are found in association with fungi and animals. Example for a symbiotic association for alga with fungus is lichen. Already we learned about the symbiotic association between fungi and algae, and you call it as lichen. Who will explain what is meant by, or what are lichens? Emilian, can you tell me about lichens? It's a symbiotic association between alga and fungus. Then
algae component prepare food for a fungi component, and fungi component provide shelter, absorb mineral nutrients.
Okay, very good. And the second association that you're not familiar with, algae are found growing on animals like sloth bear. Sloth bear got its name sloth bear because it's very slow in moving, and the symbiotic relation, it lives in symbiotic association with algae. Both of them, as the name suggests, it's symbiotic relationship, mutualism. Both of them are mutually benefited. The alga, they will get shelter to survive. They are found growing amidst the fur of these animals, so they get shelter. And not only that, since the fur of these animals, they absorb water better from the environment, they get water from the fur of these animals. Good supply of water will be available to the algae. They get shelter as well as water. In turn, the sloth bear, they'll be able to camouflage because of the green colored. The algae, they are green in color, and when algae are found growing on its fur, it gets that. In the picture you can see it is getting the greenish appearance, which help these animals to hide or to camouflage, since it matches the green surroundings or green background. And the second point is that the alga will provide them nutrients, which they will absorb through or by means of diffusion. They can take it through their skin as well as through their fur. I'll repeat again. Algae are found growing in symbiotic association with fungi and also with certain other animals. When alga is growing in symbiotic association with fungi, we call it as lichen, where both of them are mutually benefited. Alga provides nutrients, whereas fungus will provide shelter and water for the algae. And on the other hand, when it is found in symbiotic association with animals, for example, sloth bear will be getting nutrients from this alga, and it also helps them to camouflage or to hide in the green background because of the green color. The alga the algae growing on its fur will impart a green color to its fur so that they can easily camouflage in the green surroundings, and they also get nutrients from them. And the algae in return, they'll be getting from the fur they'll be getting a good supply of water, and they are getting shelter too because they are growing in the fur of these animals. So they are getting shelter, and since the fur of these animals can absorb water better from the environment, so they also get a good supply of water to carry out photosynthesis. So what you need to know is that they can live in symbiotic association or they can lead an independent life, and general features: simple, thalloid, autotrophic, chlorophyll containing, normal habitat. Usually we find them in aquatic and marine habitat. At the same time, you can find them growing on moist stones, soils, wood, etc. The form and size of algae is highly variable. So there we cannot give a fixed form and size for the algae. The size as well as the form greatly vary among different species. And here you can see the pictures of certain algae: Chlamydomonas, Volvox, Spirogyra, Eulothrix. So these are some examples for algae. Unicellular as well as multicellular algae can be found. And microscopic unicellular form, we can see them only with the help of a microscope, and they are single cell. Example is Chlamydomonas, the first figure. The Chlamydomonas is a unicellular alga which can be seen only with the help of a microscope. And the second figure you can see Volvox. It's a colonial form, means it's not leading an independent life. They live in colonies. So many alga, they come together and they form colonies. So Volvox is an algae that is an alga that live in colonies. Then filamentous form. So as you can see in the picture, Eulothrix and Spirogyra. It's a microscopic view, and they are thread-like structures. They are filamentous or ribbon-shaped structures. So the form, they exhibit diversity as in the form as well as in size. Some of them are microscopic and unicellular. Some are colonial forms. Some are filamentous forms. And examples also, children, you should be familiar with Eulothrix and Spirogyra. Eulothrix may be new for you, but Spirogyra from lower classes you are learning, from 8th standard you are learning, and both of them are filamentous forms. And colonial form means they live in colonies, they live in groups, not leading a solitary life, they live in groups. So you can see Volvox colonies, many of them are living together. Then Chlamydomonas is a microscopic unicellular. They are made up of a single cell. Then coming to the methods of reproduction: vegetative reproduction, fragmentation. Class 10, you have learned about fragmentation by Spirogyra, the filamentous Spirogyra. When it is fully matured, they can break up into fragments. And each of these fragments can grow into a new organism. So the vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction takes place by means of fragmentation. Each fragment, the organism will break, or the alga will break into fragments, and each fragment can develop into a new thallus. Asexual reproduction. They carry out asexual reproduction too by the production of spores. So vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction is by means of fragmentation, and asexual reproduction is by means of spores. Zoospores. That is the most common, and these zoospores are flagellated. Flagellated means, as you can see in the figure, just a minute, they are provided with flagella. Flagellum helps in carrying out locomotion. Just a minute. Zoospore, and you can see they are provided in this picture. It is not clear. So they are provided with flagella. With the help of these flagella, they can move. That is why it is mentioned motile. The spores are motile, means capable of movement. And upon germination, they can form new plants. Sexual reproduction, just like in any other sexual method of reproduction, the gametes will fuse, resulting in the formation of a zygote. So once again, we were discussing about the methods of reproduction. They can carry out asexual as well as sexual methods of reproduction. Vegetative propagation is by means of fragmentation. As the name suggests, the alga will break into, once it is fully matured, they'll break into fragments, and from each fragment, a new alga or a new thallus can be formed. And asexual reproduction is by means of spores. And the asexual spores most commonly found are known as zoospores. And these zoospores are motile. They are capable of movement because they are provided with locomotory structures known as flagella. And these zoospores will germinate, and upon germination, they can form a new alga. And sexual reproduction takes place by the fusion of gametes and results in the formation of a zygote. From the zygote, a new thallus or a new alga can be formed. Shall I proceed? No doubts, no? Children?
Yes.
Okay. Now, sexual reproduction, you can categorize it into different types depending upon the nature or type of the gametes involved. So, sexual reproduction is classified into three. We'll start with isogamous. Iso, similar. Here the fusing gametes will be similar in size. We cannot differentiate male and female gametes. They are identical. They are similar in terms of their size. They can be flagellated. Sometimes they'll be flagellated and sometimes they can be non-flagellated. So flagellated gametes are found in Eulothrix and non-flagellated gametes are found in Spirogyra. So if flagella are present, they can be categorized as motile gametes capable of movement, and if no flagella, they are non-motile. Example, Spirogyra. So isogamous means here the fusing gametes will be similar in size. So in the picture also you can see isogamy is written over here. Isogamy means the fusion of gametes where they are similar in size, or when the similar gametes are fusing, the fusion is known as isogamy. Isogamous fusion of gametes. Isogamous is the fusion of gametes having a similar size. And in the second figure, you can see anisogamy. From the picture itself, it's clear that they are dissimilar in size. In terms of size, one is bigger and one is smaller. So when the gametes are dissimilar in size, you call the fusion as anisogamous fusion or anisogamy. Example, Chlamydomonas, certain species of Chlamydomonas, and another example is Eudorina. Eudorina and Chlamydomonas. Coming to oogamous, the third type. Here also, in a way you can say they are anisogamous because they are dissimilar in size, but here the larger one will be female gamete. The female gamete will be large and non-motile, whereas the male gamete will be smaller and motile, as in the case of human beings. So here, in a way you can say it is anisogamous, but here the characters are specified. It will be for the male gamete. So the male gamete will be smaller and motile, whereas the female gamete, the characters are fixed, or the features are fixed here. Oogamous. So such a fusion is oogamous fusion or oogamy. I'll repeat once again. Sexual reproduction in algae can be categorized into three depending upon the size or the type of gametes involved in fusion. Oogamous, anisogamous and isogamous. In isogamous fusion or in isogamy, the fusing gametes will be similar in size. Male and female gametes will be similar in size. Whereas in anisogamy, the fusing gametes will be dissimilar in size. One will be large, one will be small. There won't be similarity in their size. But when it comes to oogamous, in oogamous also, as in the case of anisogamy, the fusing gametes are dissimilar in size. But here, the female gamete will be large and non-motile, and the male gamete will be motile and smaller in size. Examples also you should know. So in case of isogamas, I told you, it can be motile or non-motile, and example for flagellated gametes are in Eulothrix, and non-flagellated gametes you can find in Spirogyra, and anisogamus is found in certain species of Chlamydomonas, and oogamy is found in Volvox and Fucus. So examples also, at least one example you should know about each type. Under each heading, at least one example you need to learn. You want me to explain again?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now we are going to learn about the significance of algae. So before we proceed to the significance or importances of this algae, let me see how far you have understood. What are the general features of algae that we discussed, Abhinav? Malavika, Vibin, Basma, Elaine, Alan. Yes. Abhinav, tell.
They are simple autotrophic, chlorophyll bearing, and thyroid and aquatic freshwater.
Okay. In certain other habitats also you can find, mention that too. Apart from the aquatic habitats,
they can also occur in variety of habitats, moist stones.
Are you reading a bit?
No, ma'am. Moist stones, different habitats also.
Soil, etc., wood, etc. Then what is the other point? Mary, then what else we learned about algae?
Ma'am, they occur association with the fungi, the lichen, and animals.
Association with fungi, then you call it as lichen. Then second example?
Ma'am, sloth bear.
Sloth bear. It got the name because of its slow, sluggish movement. Okay, then we learned about the methods of reproduction. Zahan, Irene, you just call me after this class. Aditya Dev. At least when the video is off, your audio should be working. You should respond, children. Aditya Dev. Buddha. What should I understand if you're not responding from the other side? You tell me, children. Others can say. If no response from the other side, what should I understand? They are there on the other side? Buddha, are you there? Eva?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to your video?
Ma'am, I'll turn it on because I joined late, so I didn't turn it on.
Say the answer.
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
What we learned about the methods of reproduction in algae?
Ma'am, there are 3 methods of reproduction: vegetative reproduction, asexual, and sexual.
Okay. Nehal Shaju, Buddha, Samia.
Yes, ma'am.
Your problem is not at rectified, Samia?
No, ma'am. My modem is not working, so I'm using mobile data these days. So
okay, give me the answer. Just one method. Any one method. You may tell about vegetative reproduction, how it carries out vegetative reproduction. Samia,
through fragmentation.
Fragmentation. Explain. In fragmentation, what is happening?
It divides itself into fragments, and each fragment grows into a new individual.
New thallus. Okay. Aditya Dev. Emilian. Yes. No, Alan can tell me about asexual method of reproduction. How they carry out asexual method of reproduction?
Ma'am, by the production of spores.
By?
The production of spores.
What spores? Name the spores. Only about one spore we mentioned, no?
Zoospores.
Zoospores. And it is with the help of zoospores that they reproduce. Any other point about asexual reproduction, Tom? Anything else we learned about asexual spores? Some more features we learned about zoospores, no?
They are flagellated and motile.
They are flagellated and they are capable of movement. And about sexual reproduction, Nimida, how does sexual reproduction take place?
By the production of fusion of two gametes.
Fusion of two gametes. So based on the type of gametes, there are 3 types of fusion. Which are the 3 types of fusion? Elaine, any one type you can say. Just one type.
Isogamous.
Isogamous. What happens in isogamous fusion?
They fuse the gametes which is similar in size. They fuse and they are flagellated or non-flagellated.
Okay. And Anishwara, second type?
Isogamous.
Explain.
I mean that too the similar, like both of the gametes will be having the similar size.
Similar size?
Dissimilar size.
Similar size, and such a fusion is known as an isogamous fusion. Tushar, tell me about oogamous fusion.
Okay, ma'am. Oogamous, it is the fusion between one large non-motile female gamete and a smaller.
Smaller? What about the motility?
A smaller motile male gametes.
Good. Okay, that is oogamous fusion. So we learned about 3 types of fusion: isogamous, and isogamous, and oogamous fusions, and you should know the examples too. No doubt, no, I can continue. Yes, any topic or any part, if you want me to explain or any slide to be seen, you can tell me, okay, or else I'm continuing. Now we are going to learn about the significance of algae, the different benefits of algae. Point number 1. You know that algae contain chlorophyll. They are autotrophic. So they can carry out photosynthesis, and by means of photosynthesis, they fix half of the total carbon dioxide on Earth. The carbon dioxide fixation, so by means of photosynthesis, this fixation or the conversion of solar energy into chemical energy, the carbon dioxide fixation is being carried out by means of algae. Major share, more than half of the total fixation of total photosynthesis is carried out by algae, and they help in increasing the level of dissolved oxygen. So the dissolved oxygen, because as a result of photosynthesis, they release oxygen as a byproduct, which will help in increasing the amount of dissolved oxygen, which is essential for other aquatic organisms to survive. So that is one of the most important point. Okay, the significance of algae. Algae, they can carry out photosynthesis being green in color, or due to the presence of chlorophyll, they carry out autotrophic nutrition, or they perform photosynthesis, and it is estimated that they fix more than half of the total carbon dioxide on Earth. So they contribute, or they are the major group of plants or major group that carry out photosynthesis, or major share of photosynthesis is carried out by them, and that leads to the fixation of more than half of the total carbon dioxide produced by other. In general, if you say, if all the plants are taken into consideration, more than half of the total carbon dioxide fixation is carried out by algae, and as a result, they also release oxygen as a byproduct. You know that when photosynthesis is carried out, carbohydrate is formed, and as a byproduct, oxygen is being released, and they will contribute to the dissolved oxygen in water, which will help other organisms to survive. Second point, they are primary producers, and they form the basis of food cycles of all aquatic animals. So primary, they are primary producers. Just a minute, children. Second point, they are primary producers. They are primary producers, and they form the basis of food cycles of all aquatic animals. About food chain, you know, in all the food chains, the first level, the first trophic level is occupied by plants. So they are the primary producers. And this primary producers, they will prepare food, and they are the source of food for all the other organisms. So by the term producers, you know, they are autotrophic, they carry out photosynthesis and form the source of food for all the other organisms. So plants, which are green in color, they form the producers, and rest of the animals we call as consumers. And all the consumers, either directly or indirectly, they are dependent on the producers. So they are the primary producers, and they form the basis of the different food cycles of food chains. You have learned about food chain and food web. So that is what is meant by food cycles of all aquatic animals. So they form a very important component of the food chains present in aquatic habitat. So they are the primary producers. Now moving on to the third point. So here you can see the pictures of some of the algae: Porifera, Laminaria, Sargassum, Gelidium, Gracilaria, Agar. Many of them are used for commercial purposes. So we will see how are they useful to us. Third point, more than 70 species of marine algae, they are used as food. So majority, many of them, not majority, about 70 species of algae, marine algae, they are used to prepare different delicacies, different food items or different dishes which are loved by people across the world. Example for such food items or such algae which are used for preparing different dishes are Porifera, Laminaria, Sargassum, etc. So these are some of the species of marine algae which are used as food. Agar is a substance which is produced from Gelidium and Gracilaria. From the algae, Gelidium and Gracilaria, agar is prepared, and this agar is used in the laboratory for growing microbes. In the laboratory as a culture medium for growing microbes, and it is used in ice creams and jellies as a stabilizing agent and all. It is being used in jellies, ice creams for growing growing microbes as a culture medium. So there are different uses. So once again, So that was the fourth point that we discussed. About 70 species of marine algae are used as food, and some of them are Porifera, Laminaria, Sargassum, and using Gelidium or from Gelidium and Gracilaria, a substance known as agar is produced, and this agar, we usually call it as agar. Here you can see agar gum, the packet of agar gum used for culturing bacteria or different microbes in the lab, and also as a stabilizing agent in preparing ice creams and jellies. Now the fifth use, this was the fourth point. Just a minute, children. This was the fourth point. And the fifth point, some marine brown algae, brown as well as red algae. Algae come in different colors. You will be learning about those in detail. Green, red, brown. So all the features of these algae you will be learning. So these marine brown and red algae, they are used for producing hydrocolloids. Hydrocolloids are substances which can retain water. And the hydrocolloids prepared, some of the examples are algin and carrageen. Algin is produced from brown algae. Carrageen, they are prepared from red algae, and these are used commercially for transporting different substances from one place to another. So if certain objects or certain substances need to be transported fresh or for different purposes, they are being used. This hydrocolloids, it's of great significance in the in the industrial purpose. So for several purposes, these hydrocolloids are being used. And the next one is chlorella and spirulina. Chlorella and spirulina are the algae. Both of them are unicellular, but they are rich in proteins. They contain they are the rich sources of proteins, and these are used by space travelers as food supplements. So to get the sufficient proteins, the space travelers, they use food supplements prepared from these algae. And the reason for that is these algae are rich in proteins. They are used as protein supplements by space travelers. These are some of the 6 important uses of algae. We'll see all that one by one. And the 6th one, protein-rich unicellular algae. Certain algae, they are rich in proteins, and at the same time they are rich in proteins also, and these are used by the space travelers. So they can carry or they can use only limited food items. So these are used as food supplements in order to compensate for their protein deficiency. So they take it as, so they consume it as protein supplements. And using some of the brown and red algae, hydrocolloids, which can retain water, which can hold water. Such substances are being produced, which are of great use in industrial field. And examples are algin and carrageen. Carrageen is the hydrocolloid obtained from red algae, and algin from brown algae. Then the next one is fourth use. Agar is prepared from Gelidium and Gracilaria. Agar is a substance which is prepared with the help of algae like Gelidium and Gracilaria. It has got several uses. It can be used for preparing food items like jellies and ice creams, where you use it as a stabilizing agent. And at the same time, in laboratory for culturing different microbes also, this is considered to be a good medium. Then many of them are used as food item or to prepare different delicacies. Example, Porifera, Laminaria, Sargassum, etc. Then the first and foremost, they help in, or they act as primary producers, and they form an important trophic level, or they are the basis of different food chains in the aquatic ecosystems. The food chains in aquatic or in the marine environment also, there exist several food chains, and these interconnected food chains form food web. So they act as primary producers. They are the basis for all the other organisms surviving in the aquatic habitat, and more than half of the total carbon dioxide fixation is carried out by them, and so they play a very important role in fixing carbon dioxide, and they also release oxygen which is formed as a byproduct of photosynthesis, and this will help in increasing dissolved oxygen in aquatic water bodies or in aquatic environment, which are highly beneficial for the aquatic organisms. So these were the different uses of algae. 10 is the time, children. Okay. Next period we can have a recap of the points that we learned, plus we can have the test paper. So come prepared. Thank you, children. See you next class.